Ladies and gentlemen, Suds Media is an official affiliate of the WWE Shop. Whether you want merchandise from the original Tribal Chief, Roman Reigns, or the Hall of Famers, the New World Order, or from WrestleMania itself, scan the QR code on the screen or go to suds-media.com/wrestling merch, and it gives us a commission to help our show. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Dockside at the Bay. I am Vinny, as always, joined by Kim. Kim, how are you today?
Doing all right, Vinny. How about you?
I am doing well myself. We're going to be talking about season 6, or no? Yeah, season 6, episode 4. Holy cow.
Just making our way through.
We are, yes. So we're talking about season 6, episode 4 of the Emmy Award-winning series, The Bay, that you can find on multiple different streaming services. But before we get into that, I just want to let everybody know that everything is going good here at Suds and Squared Circle Media. I did have an awesome interview with Guy Evans, the author of Beyond Nitro, the Untold Stories of the WCW era. So that will be published on our YouTube channel and the RSS feed relatively soon. It was an audio interview, so the video part of it would pretty much be a still video because it was an audio interview. So we'll put up a copy of the book and just kind of go from there. So we'll have to see. But either way, we did announce it on Suds News, and that's going to be put up relatively soon. Also, Gate Crashers, we're still trying to figure out what we're going to do with that. We all still watch Beyond the Gates. As a matter of fact, it's a fantastic show, but it's kind of hard to fit in another podcast. So we're going to figure out when and how we're going to do that, whether it's going to move to a different night or be pre-recorded. Chances are it'll be pre-recorded, and then we'll go from there. But we'll have to see how that goes. Outside of that, all the certificates for the Sudsies have been mailed out to their respective winners in both the wrestling and the soap opera realm. So those are all in the U.S. Postal Service. Matter of fact, WWE Superstars should have gotten theirs this week. So who knows if they did or not, or when they'll get them, but hopefully some start popping up on social media. Also, I do want to point out that this episode, as always, is being powered by W Energy. That's DUBBY. W Energy is caffeine, jitterless caffeine, jitterless energy, which means it comes from the coffee fruit extract. For most of the people that know, for Suds News, I usually get up very early in the morning on a Monday. So in order to stay up till 8 or 9 or 10 p.m., I do need some kind of energy, and that's what I use, W Energy. Right now, I'm actually drinking one of their hydration blends, Water Lemonada, which is watermelon lemonade. And that's right here, if you can see it. So, yeah, check it out, w.gg, and use promo code Suds Media for 10% off your purchase. That's w.gg. Use 10% off, or you use the promo code Suds Media for 10% off your purchase. Okay. Woo! That's a lot. That's a mouthful. Kim, what's been going on in your neck of the woods?
Just I don't know. Just trying to navigate. It's been I don't know. We've had a little bit of a heat wave here happening in Chicago, but today the weather seems to be kind of trying to not be as rainy and crazy. And just I don't know, they're dealing with a little bit of crazy frazzle stuff in terms of a job search right now, but it's been nice to escape into my soaps, not only Beyond the Gates, but also with the Bay. And honestly, re-escaping into this episode there's a lot happening in this episode.
There was.
They really cover a lot of ground here, but it was just nice kind of being able to just focus on the crazy happenings in Bay City versus the crazy happenings in my own life right now. So.
Yes. I do like how they kind of gave us a timestamp in this episode of spring 2020. in Lianna's move into her new apartment.
Mm-hmm.
I will say I didn't like seeing the masks because it made it all too real that they're
Yeah.
utilizing
Yeah.
COVID on a TV show.
Yeah. No, it does really, rewatching it now, it's just, it does hit a certain, it taps back into just a time that was just so insane and so just recent and raw and real. And it just seeing it all shake out again. And even them talking about cleaning and disinfecting and patient beds at the hospital and it's just, it all comes flooding back. But I do appreciate how they've managed to take, because obviously COVID, impacted the filming schedule for this show and for
Mhm.
TV and entertainment. Just the fact that they were able to take the plot and just kind of insert it, in such a way that it doesn't feel like it's like ham-fisted or anything like that. It feels very natural that and you're putting these characters together, quarantining them together. That's it's a plot device, and they're able to show these characters in high pressure sort of situations. They're living together now. They're using the situation to just kind of fuel the drama, keep the storylines moving forward, and they do it really effortlessly and they do it really seamlessly. And just seeing that again, it's just they've managed to blend it together in a way that's uncomfortable to watch and a bit just triggering, but at the same time I can appreciate the craft that went into them going that route and them trying to just make it as grounded and as possible, showing these characters that we've loved and come to care for in this situation and making it realistic.
Yeah, and you're absolutely right about that. Obviously we all lived through that era in time, whether you're living in the US or abroad. Everybody in the world, because I remember watching the news and it's like, oh, it's only localized to like Japan or China, and like, oh my gosh, there was a case that was found in the Philippines, and and just how it spread. And then they finally found the first case in the US, but it was only in the West Coast. It was only in like California, and all of a sudden it just started spreading across. And I mean, to the point where the entire world was shut down for 18 months. International travel, and we all lived through it. I mean, WrestleMania that year was supposed to be at Raymond James Stadium in Tampa, and was moved into the Performance Center with no crowd, and the first ever 2-night WrestleMania.
And the way even that soaps had to kind of pivot. I mean, Days of Our Lives, I always, it's a thorn in my side how they filmed so far ahead. But I know that was their saving grace during the pandemic, because they had episodes that were stockpiled. They were able to continue showing new episodes of that soap every day, even though other productions, I believe, unless I'm speaking out of turn with General Hospital, I mean, they had to, filming had to be shut down or, but Days of Our Lives, because of their crazy schedule, which I think now they're filming on maybe even a year at a time now.
Last I heard it was like 10 months.
Yeah, but during this time period, it did allow for that soap to continue. It did allow for new episodes to air every day. So but just the impact that everything kind of had on entertainment platforms and things like that. Just
I remember General
area that was
Hospital.
touched.
I remember with General Hospital, once they shut down, they ran out of new episodes. They pivoted to like specific storylines or specific like character centric weeks. So one week it was focusing on all of Sonny's kids. So they were showing episodes that had to do with Michael, Christina, Morgan, whatever, just kind of for that whole week. And then it was I'm sorry, at first they dropped it down to 4 days of new material, and the 5th day was a themed episode, like from their archive. And then when they finally ran out of new episodes, that's when they started like the 1 week of Sonny's kids and the 1 week of weddings, or the one, so they did that until they were able to resume filming.
But being able to just, it just shows how, in different platforms, different situations, they all had to think on their feet, and they all had to figure out ways to kind of cater to this situation, whether they were going to include COVID in plot points, whether they were going to steer clear of it or not. And the Bay clearly did not shy away from showcasing everything. And like I said, a little realistic, a little too close to home, difficult to watch, but at the same time, the way that they it's a testament to the quality of the writing.
You're absolutely
that they were able to just make it so that it felt that real, and that just, and as the preview for the whole season indicates, I mean, they aren't letting up. It's going to keep on in this same sort of, so I give them a lot of credit for doing it, even if it is difficult to kind of sit through at certain points.
I give Gregory Martin a lot of credit for keeping the show going. Now, granted, they're not on a network, so they don't have to have specific, or I don't want to say specific, but they don't have like a deadline of getting their shows done. I'm sure Popstar wants a run of new shows. I'm not saying that, but because they're not on, terrestrial television,
right?
I give Gregory Martin a lot of credit for continuing with the show, because
Definitely.
a lot of shows during that time either got canceled or just couldn't keep up with production demands, and we've seen, like, prior to COVID, even like let's say with sitcoms or like hour-long primetime dramas, they used to have 24, 25, 26 episodes a season.
Oh, yeah.
Now you're seeing 10, 12 episodes, and they're being dropped on Netflix where you watch them all, and then you have to wait 2 years. I know my wife is upset. She watches Outlander. So,
my mom watches, what is it, Virgin River? And with that, she's always like, I binged through the episodes so quickly, and then, it takes forever for it to come back.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
I guess she has to wait till like 2027 for Stars to come back for the next season or something.
Yeah, that's just the nature of things now. It's so interesting how even in just the span of, a decade, how much, it has changed because of streaming, because of production schedules, because of budget, because of everything. But it's just the fact that the Bay managed to just kind of being as innovative as they are, and, even, from the origins of being a web soap to getting to the place where they're at, and with all the Emmys and all the accolades and things that they've received. I mean, it shows, because they were still able to keep it on in the midst of everything, and still managed to put out an episode that, like, honestly, it's so twisty, and just, it really did. It showed everything that they want to set up for the rest of the season, but in a seamless way. And they did it in a short time frame. And we say that all the time, but just the fact that they managed to cram so much into such a, short little, time slot, it's incredible. So,
Agreed.
And this episode was no exception.
You're absolutely right. So, I mean, let's kind of get into it. We started, we alluded to the fact that Lianna got her own place. So we kind of start with Lianna and Nardo moving furniture into her new apartment. They're both wearing masks, and and that kind of is what I was talking about. But that kind of sets the tone for the episode, because it's like an episode of changes. We saw a lot of them during this one episode alone.
Yeah, no, definitely. In terms of, it's showing transitions. Just showing like them kind of moving into this new Lianna finally, getting her own place, not being able to go back to the old one because of Will. And they do reference Will, which I appreciated, because, we haven't forgotten about this character, even though he's been off canvas now for quite some time. But just the fact that they reference, Tony Foster, the court case, the fact that because of quarantine, it's going to prevent her from being charged right away. I mean, I made a note. It's just, you're twining in this character's fate with the reality that's happening. It just, that was such a, commonplace thing with the courts and everything like that. So, and it does give us an excuse to keep Lianna out of jail and, not just stuck in courtroom scenes. It's like she gets to live her life, blessing in disguise, with COVID. She gets to,
And I like how Nardo says they should just drop the charges. And
points out what we've known all along, because it was an accident.
Exactly, it was an accident, and he points out that when before Will left for the Cleveland Clinic, he said he didn't want to press charges, but Lianna, kind of seeing things from all sides, says, well, it's really not up to him, and the state picks up the charges regardless because it was an assault.
She just got caught up into that cycle because of everything that went on. And it kind of, comes full circle when we see, we have like that nice sequence with her and with Nardo at the apartment and having, with dinner and just kind of, settling into the space. But then we learn, oh, yeah, there's Colton again. Okay. Now we get to contend with this guy right next door. It's like she cannot catch a break.
No,
poorly, oh my goodness. I mean, and just, his just intimidating sort of, he says, well, it's good you have a cop next door. And then she's all, well, I'll just call 911, just giving it right back to him. But at the same time, it's like, oh goodness, now you're stuck with this guy with a chip on his shoulder carried over. And now he's going to hear tormenting you even as you're trying to get into your new life.
I didn't realize that it was like a condo complex that she moved into. I thought it was a house at first or something. And then, because when Nardo calls her and says, oh, I'm sorry, I forgot to give you the garage door opener, I could turn around and bring it back. She's like, no, it's all right, I'll go down and close it myself. And that's when it dawned on me. Because at first when she said that, it made it look like somebody was creeping and peeking through the window, like spying on her. So when, Colton comes down the stairs, I'm like, oh, he was the one that was, spying on her through the window. But then saying, oh, no, I live right down, right down here. So.
Yeah. And, I almost wish with the Colton thing, because, his interest in her, it's strictly like, well, you went after my partner, you went after this. But it almost feels like, just given how invested, that it's almost like a twisted sort of like obsession, like he's in love with her or something. And I don't think they lean too hard into that, but I almost wish that they would, because it gets a little, his just being in that place of, well, you did this to my partner and I'm going to hate you forever, even though it was an accident.
That's his character, because look at how he treated Tamara while they were going out, just always having to be right, always having to be the man, having to, just all he's there to avenge every wrong in this world, and
I don't know. It's just with the whole spying on her thing, though, it's like you almost kind of wonder if that's what they were trying to hint at or go for, like his just kind of his obsession creeping into like, oh, now I'm going to like watch her at her house, and now I'm just going to watch her every move. It just lends itself to that kind of sick and twisted thing.
Let me tell you, it's not. It's sad to say. I'm somebody that I fully back police officers. I back the blue and everything. But I'm never going to say that there are not dirty cops, because we've clearly seen it on TV. But also, when I broke up with an ex-girlfriend of mine years and years ago, I think I was like, 20 years old. Her father was friends with a police officer that was a beat cop in our neighborhood. And he would literally kind of, I don't want to say stalk or whatever, but he would intimidate me by sitting outside, not outside the house, but just like across the street and sight and whatever. And it happens. There are cops that use their influence to intimidate people, and when you have a specific time with, like here with Colton, we've seen him harassing Lianna all the time and won't take the fact that it was an accident.
No, he refuses to even consider that.
He refuses to be like, and that she was in the wrong mental state. And even with Will saying, I don't want to press charges, he's still taking up taking up the helm.
Yeah. But, it's just like it crossed into, I don't know, maybe it's something about his just being right next door. It just crossed into that territory where it looks like it could have gone into like this weird romantic, like he's got like a wall of photos of her someplace, just tracking her every move and being all, but regardless, he's got that intimidating sort of, presence that, just shows that Lianna, no matter what, just can't, find true peace. She will never know true peace. And that's just, the fate of the character. But then, she's not the exception. There's obviously we saw some other folks that are kind of knee deep in drama as well. the entire, I, I guess, even, I'm just trying to figure out which to kind of move into. I mean, we did kind of segue right into, with Daniel kind of showing his current. And I admit, I was confused. Like, I realized, they showed the lodge set in the previous episode and kind of explored that to us. But I was really uncertain as to what he was doing there until it was pointed out that he was just like, oh, he's cleaning up the lodge. I'm like thinking, what restaurant is that? Where is he working? What is he doing?
Right.
That was a little unclear to me until someone just straight out said, oh, he's cleaning up at the lodge after the party. I was like, oh, okay. Now I understand.
Yeah.
But I was just like, what's his new gig? What's he doing?
Exactly.
What's he up to? That gave me a little bit of pause because you have, oh my God, I just tried to call him Smitty. He's not Smitty. Oh gosh. He's in Mr. Manning. You are in too many different shows playing awesome characters. I apologize. This is not Smitty.
Right.
But teaching all of his classes online and talking about his teaching career, which I'd kind of forgotten that was, his, it's like we're getting caught up on where all these characters are at again and refamiliarizing. And I'd kind of forgotten that he was a teacher. But even his talking about the online courses and kids having to learn through the script. And I was just like, oh my gosh, yeah, that's another, hard hitting kind of,
he's a high school teacher,
COVID
right?
Reality. I believe so. Yeah.
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 I was just thinking back because my wife is an elementary school teacher and she had to teach all her kids online and trying to herd elementary school students on Zoom.
Oh gosh.
It's like herding cats.
Right. Of course. Because they're just, they think it's playtime and they're just
have their thing muted and and forget the cameras on and so.
Yeah. I mean, they even reference the kids thinking, oh, it's just going to be a temporary vacation, but they're going to be stuck in their home. And it's just all the foreboding, all the talk of that. It was just like another one of those moments that just kind of, hit. And it's just like, oof.
Yes.
But it was really, again, though, with, using COVID as kind of a way to bring the characters under one umbrella, bring them under one roof. I mean, they took the opportunity there with Daniel and with him. Just, well, why don't you just move in with me? Which, hey, totally natural transition. But we also have Matthew in the mix. So, it can't be simple.
I like how when Daniel and Caleb are in the car and they're talking, Caleb goes, so, what was Matthew there for? He's like, oh, it was just a goodbye drink or a, whatever. And it's like, that does sound kind of odd. Like, I understand if you're going to stay friends, you're going to stay friends and set that boundary. But then when Matthew says, oh, I still care about you and I want to be with you. And it's like, oh, well, maybe that's not the kind of friend I'd want to keep around if he's going to be a threat to my,
there's some layers there. It's not just, there's some underlying feelings there. And, I will say that with Matthew and Daniel, I mean, they did kind of hint at the two of them still having that, but they really are kind of bringing that connection back to the forefront here, just, for the sake of creating a triangle situation. But I'd kind of forgotten about their whole, because I don't know, we just get so caught up with all the lovely chemistry between Daniel and Caleb, at least I do, because I love the two of them together. But Matthew, they definitely did plan to play into that, just to give it a triangle and give it some drama, which I appreciate. They did have a pre-existing sort of, but they're definitely playing it up now.
Yes, and if you have chemistry issues in your relationship with your significant other and an ex, and you need someone to talk to, I could recommend somebody that you could reach out to and will help you through your struggles. Are you having problems in the bedroom? Are you having problems with your sex life? Well, I know just who to talk to, and that's Lori. CoachingByLori.com is where you could set up voice, video, or text sessions to talk about sex, to talk about intimacy, kinks, fetishes, taboos, fantasies, or your sexuality. You could talk about coming out and what to expect when you come out. Lori is a sex therapist and talks about your sexual health. Lori's offering all new clients 20% off their first session with the coupon code WELCOME. That's Coaching by Lori, LORIE.com. Coupon code WELCOME, WELCOME, for 20% off your first session. All right, so yes, as we're talking about that, as we're talking about, the relationship problems with Daniel and Caleb, Matthew's there to throw a monkey wrench in the middle, and you could kind of see how Caleb is just taken aback. Because he walks in, like, as they're kind of looking in each other's eyes, Matthew and Daniel, that is, and like he didn't see anything, so it's not like he could. I mean, unless he just saw some kind of chemistry there and that those longing, lingering looks.
Yeah. Well, they're setting the tone. They're just kind of showing that we've got these guys here. 2 of them are going to be quarantining together. We got the budding couple. Then we have the, it's so soapy and it's so, on pat for, just typical. But yeah, I really do. Daniel and Caleb, they're one of my, golden couples on this show. I really like them. So, a little bit of drama. They got to have a little bit of chaos. I understand.
I'm really glad to see the Daniel character as he evolves throughout the show. And we've talked about it.
Oh, yeah.
How he was for a while, he was just kind of like comic relief and whatever. Yep. But now he's kind of found himself,
Yes.
He has fully embraced his sexuality, and he's realizing that this friend that he's had since high school is like the someone that he really cares about and wants to be with. Just
and have chicken tikka with. That was so cute. I loved that little moment. It's free delivery. It's like,
exactly.
As someone who partakes of delivery a lot, free delivery is definitely a plus.
During COVID, we all did a lot of delivery because restaurants weren't staying open. So
leave the stuff outside the door. Yep.
There were a lot of restaurants that closed down because of it, and then they finally opened up the kitchen to do takeout and delivery options.
And takeout drinks. I remember that too. Yeah. Yep. Oh my gosh, all coming back to me now.
Yeah.
But they did have that cute little chicken tikka moment in the car, and it's just like, oh boy. Yeah. And we also had sweet and cute moments in chemistry. We had Viv in the mix with Pete. Yep. Obviously she went in the previous episode to go and speak with Adam, try and get to the bottom of things and figure things out, because she's proactive and wants to, take charge here and go you.
Yes, exactly.
But you've got Lex and Pete just, Lex asking if he wants coffee or something stronger, knowing, Pete is clearly on edge with the whole idea of her being, not that she can't handle herself, but he just doesn't trust Adam further than he can throw him and doesn't want to see her in that situation. Just wants to kill the guy. And he straight up says that. And then, the one cop that, another security guard cop, what have you can't do that. I understand why you want to, but you can't do that.
I mean, you never want to say that to a cop because, I mean, it's like, and what's so ironic is this is kind of like the part that takes me out of the reality of the situation, because in a hospital, nobody's wearing masks. Like, they were all doctors' offices and hospitals were wearing masks even before the mandates. So why are Pete and the cops able to be in the hallway with no masks on? And then when the doctor comes in because of, the artist formerly known as Adam, is in the bed and coding, like, there's no masks. And Vivian's in there without a mask. And it's like, wait a minute. There's like, you're
rules
trying
apply to some, but not to all in that sense.
Right.
You see some in and some not. And it is a little bit distracting because you think that it would just be, but at the same time, you got to figure too, you want to see the expressions on the actors, some of the actors' faces. And I guess some of them, they just were like, yep, we don't necessarily need to show the doctor reacting to, this crazy situation that's happening, but we do need to see the way that Pete or that Viv would be reacting, and just see that full expression. So
I mean, there also could be the reality of those scenes being shot before the pandemic hit, because if you think about it, they're not going to wrap up the actor in a mummy outfit every time that they need to. So they'll shoot all of those episodes or all those scenes at once. So that could have been the reason there.
Yeah. It's just interesting with the hospital setting. But, I've compared to, because I think the only other series that I think was leaning into the COVID was Grey's Anatomy, at least one that I was watching, series that I was watching at the time.
I know SVU did as well.
Yeah, but I do remember, they were, it's just, at some point you're just trying to suspend disbelief, and, they just kind of were filming, it varied a little bit, but it's just interesting with the shows in the hospital settings, the measures that they had to kind of go to with this. But in this case, we did have them having that big long conversation in the hallway. And then we had the really interesting conversation, which so much happened in that scene with, Viv, has a superpower, just managed to get all that information so fast. Just by being nice, she just went in there with a very sort of, more flies with honey than you can with vinegar approach. Just
You're right. And that is our what the fudge moment of the week for Dockside at the Bay. We don't always do this segment on Dockside, but this kind of brings it apropos, because Vivian's talking to the who we believe is Adam in the bed, in the hospital bed, and we found out they have different blood types, and we found out that they're saying, okay, well, he's not Pete's brother, and then so Vivian's just kind of asking all this other stuff and trying to offer friendship, and then he butts out with, well, you're right, I'm not Pete's brother, and I killed Adam, Kenway, and it's like, wow, whoa, that's a lot of stuff just in that one thing from somebody on their deathbed.
Yeah, and it's one of those, just okay, we're just gonna lay this all out here and let you guys kind of process after the fact that we have a new Adam the new Adam out there. No, he's dead. But, of course, it's a soap, and he's not actually going to be dead, because that would be way too easy. But it's just, it was definitely just, if you were Viv in that situation, going in and talking to someone who had previously, granted, she's been away from Bay City for a while, but I don't think that you'd soon forget all the interactions that she and Adam had, and obviously she's been filled in by Pete. But no, she goes in there and just tries to get as much information as she can, and she does. And it's a lot. Yes. And then Pete telling her after the fact, like, you should go home and rest and kind of deal with what's just happened. Because not only does she get this earth-shattering revelation, she has to watch the man code.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, so much happening in that room.
Yeah. And that, for you, my friends, was our what the fudge moment of the week. Just everything going on in that hospital room. And then eventually the guy we know as Adam just codes and can't be saved, so he's dead. And then all of that. So whatthefudgect.com is the website to go to if you're in the New Haven, Connecticut area or surrounding areas, or are traveling through the area and you want to pick up some of this homemade fudge. It is part of a cottage kitchen, so she can't ship, but if you are in the New Haven, Connecticut area, or if you're in the North Haven, Connecticut area, and you're going to be going to the North Haven Fair or planning to go to the North Haven Fair, she will be there. So reach out, put in your order, and you can pick it up right from the fair. Check it out. What the Fudge Homemade Confections. Again, whatthefudgect.com or facebook.com/whatthefudgect. Use promo code SUDS for 10% off your order. Again, that's our What the Fudge moment of the week. And that is just everything with Vivian and Adam in a hospital room, and Pete coming in at the end and just them both watching him die. But the revelation that happened, saying that he killed the real Adam Kenway.
Who is evil also. That was another fun little, it was like he's getting into the whole philosophical sort of speech, like reuniting the son with the long lost brother, like villain speak and all of this and being dramatic. But then he straight up says, you would have really liked Pete 2.0. his face at least, but he was also an evil man. It's like, what are we
Yeah,
supposed to believe here? You would have liked this
seriously.
guy, but he's straight up evil, and he would have crushed the Garretts with 1 foot. Consider yourself lucky you never met. And it's just
Yeah.
like, okay, so it's just so much thrown at you in one brief scene. And we're just
Yes.
like kind of left after that, like Vivian, just like, all right, what now? I guess I'll just go and talk to Zoe about this, which was very nice. I appreciated
It
that,
was.
she got to have that interaction with her. And it was a little bit more recapping, but it also just felt very natural. That conversation
Of
flowed
course.
very well. It did kind of, reestablish where Viv was, that she was visiting with Will and that whole situation. And then we also get the revelation. Viv had a lot of revelations, a lot,
Yeah. Yep.
vehicle for a lot of plot twists, because we get the revelation that she's pregnant. And then she, of course, has to clarify to Zoe, oh, by the way, it's not Will's. It's Pete's.
Right.
I'm happy about it, and even but
And
Zoe
even the
even
fact that she
saying,
didn't tell Pete yet.
yeah, that's true. But they have a close relationship. Even and I appreciated though too, even Zoe saying like this was Nathan's bedroom, tying in those old faces and just being like, yeah, so and so isn't here at the moment, and we're acknowledging that though. We're not just like letting them disappear into thin air. So,
Right.
but just being able to just kind of reestablish where they're at, that and the just now they're the happy couple again, and now they're
Yeah.
except for all the crazy drama swirling around them. But it was nice to have that kind of interaction, just kind of set the tone again for the Pete and Viv relationship, because it was on
Yep.
hold for so long, and now that they're back in full swing and being cute and trying to figure shit out, and
Yep.
yeah.
Exactly. We have one more segment to go and talk
Yep.
about Sarah and how she gets the news. But before we do that, I do have another announcement to make, and that is that on Saturday, November 8th to Sunday, November 9th is going to be our 2025 24-hour podcast-a-thon. We're going to be going from 3 p.m. Eastern to 3 p.m. Eastern, Saturday to Sunday. And it's doing that because we're trying to be a little kinder to our West Coast brethren who want to come on and talk. And, sometimes 9 a.m. over there is a little too early. So we're going to do 3 p.m. Eastern, which is 12 noon Pacific. So we're going 3 to 3, Saturday the 8th to Sunday the 9th of November. So keep that posted. We'll be doing the charity again of Samantha's friends. So we'll be raising money for them. We'll just have to, we'll have fun. And we're going to break it down a little differently this year because we did lose a lot of interviews. We broadcast through StreamYard. StreamYard only saves up to the first 10 hours of a stream. So anything after 10 hours, and we went 26 last year, anything after 10 hours was lost. So then I thought, okay, well, we could probably get it on YouTube. Well, something that long is not saved on YouTube either. So we lost a lot of interviews. So we are going to break it down into 3 8-hour segments. So we'll go 3 p.m. to 11 p.m. We'll take a break, do 5-minute reset, and then come back and do 11 to 7, and then take a break, do a reset, and then go 7 to 3. So
new game plan in place. I like it.
Yes, that way everything will be saved, and I'll be able to download everything and get all of our interviews.
Very exciting. Very exciting. It was a lot of fun last year. It was our first time doing it last year. And it was definitely, it was an awesome experience. We got to raise money for an awesome cause. And we also got to chat with so many really cool people, with soaps and with wrestling and everything. And it was just, I'm excited. I'm excited for, the round 2, next edition of it. It's going to be really, really cool. So.
It is going to be fun again this year. All right. So moving on to our final segment, we're going to be talking all about Sarah Garrett and her finding out about, the information that Vivian and Pete got from the man formerly known as Adam. It
was just nice seeing. I have to preface this by saying, lately on days I haven't been seeing. We've been seeing a little bit more of Kayla, but not as much as I would like. It was just frankly very nice to watch a scene with Mary Beth Evans where she gets a chance to just kind of. It was brief, but it's like, yes, woman can
Yeah.
freaking act her butt off, so let's watch it and give her some good material. It was just refreshing. It's like I miss you, girl. I wish that you were getting that kind of love right now on the soap that you frequent, because yeah, she got a chance to just kind of react to the everything about Adam and that whole situation, which is confusing enough to, we watch the whole scene with Vivian. We have to process it. In the meantime, you've got poor Sarah, who hasn't been aware of any of this, even though she
Right.
believed for the longest time she was this, guy's mother, going to the hospital, frequenting visits, all of that, only to come to learn in, a matter of, seconds. Oh yeah, by the way.
Yeah.
And oh, poor thing. She can't catch
I
a
do
break
like
either, though,
how,
because that's just not
right.
allowed.
I do like how she kind of was so excited to tell Pete and Lex that, Reagan and Frankie were over.
Yeah.
They were talking. They were, they're Brian's daughters. So I'm glad that she was so excited for that. And she kind of at first didn't give them a chance to put a word in edgewise. She's like, we're gonna have to kind of just show them love, and they'll come
Yeah.
around, and Frankie's gonna take a little longer, and just on and on and on. And then all of a sudden, she's like, well, what do I owe the pleasure of this visit?
Yeah. And she does mention, though, too, her tone kind of shifts a little bit when John Blackwell comes into the mix in that
Yes.
discussion, wanting to have a truce, but his approaching her and her not being too keen on that. Because even though I did say in the last episode how much I would have freaking loved to see the two of them joining forces to take down Steve, brother and sister at it, he has done a lot to her. And I
Yeah.
understand her skepticism as to wanting to really form a truce, and her being
yeah.
a little, because when she rattles off just, he shot my father and he landed me in prison. I mean,
Yeah.
that would land you on someone's list for a long time, regardless.
Yeah.
It's, even though we know that John Blackwell has, become the international man of mystery as opposed to the guy with the axe to grind chip on his shoulder, and he's grown a lot and he's changed a lot. But in Sarah's eyes, yeah, those are pretty unforgivable sort of, things. And
Yeah.
it's right for her to point that out, even though I do secretly wish that, let bygones be bygones and let the two of them just team up and take over the world and take down Steve, because that would have been fun as hell to watch.
Yes, absolutely. And I like how she kind of confronts Pete and be like, he said that you two were working together. He's like, yeah, he's been a great help, especially going after Steve. And she's kind of like, well, that he said the same thing. So maybe it's almost like maybe I shouldn't be skeptical because the stories match.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
she's at least willing to kind of consider the possibility that, they're all, the enemy of the enemy is my friend. So at least in that sense, they all have reason to, go after Steve most of all. So,
exactly.
But then we launch into the whole revelation about Adam, though, too. And, well, why don't you take the seat, Mom? Sit down. We got to tell you some stuff. And, they bring up the blood donation thing again and that whole situation and how they figured that out, which, type AB couldn't have a type O child, must be some mistake. And then, she makes the argument, but with the twins and with the everything, but they straight up tell her, no bones about it, he's an imposter. And then she makes a valid point. Why would he take the beating if he's not my son? Which, to be fair, that is pretty, the fact that he was willing to, which makes the whole Adam thing, the whole Adam journey is kind of interesting. The fact that the character is, because when you look at when they were held hostage together, and despite his, antagonistic relationship with Sarah and his being mad at her, he does, take a full-on beatdown for her. And he does do the whole, mother thing. So you got to wonder what shifted.
There's something
made them decide. We're going an entirely different route with Adam now. So
exactly. So there's just something there. And of course he died. So, we'll have to see where that comes from. Because I mean, that was a twist even for me, because obviously I did watch a little bit in the future. I think I watched season 7. And when it was Christos playing Adam, I'm like, okay, well, he comes in, he's had a couple of recasts, then they couldn't find anybody, so they ended up having Christos do a twin angle. But now now it's just a big twist knowing that this guy is not, Adam, and the real Adam is still out there, or the real Adam is supposedly dead. So
right.
when it's a great twist.
It honestly, however they decided upon, having it be where Christos is playing the dual roles and deciding to go that route versus having previous Adams in the mix. I mean, I don't know if it was necessarily just, maybe it was a casting thing. Maybe Christos wanted to take on more. We'll never really know the full scope of why they decided to go that route. It did feel a little bit like, we're going to hit you over the head with this because it's a big deal twist and we got to make this happen. But it ends up, the payoff in it, it's not as far-fetched as some, recast situations or things that we've seen in terms of retcons, in terms of anything like that. It's still grounded in enough where we can get past it. We can move on. We can be like, "Ooh, this is a big twist. Now let's see where it goes," because it makes us curious. It's not just like, them pulling stuff out of thin air because they had to. And maybe even if they did had to, they make it creative enough and twisty enough where we're still invested and we still want to know what's going on. So it's even if it is a little bit convoluted and a little bit all over the map, it's still like, okay, well, we'll roll with this now. This is the new reality. This is the new paradigm. Let's see where it goes. Yeah. So it just, even her expression though, when she finds out that, the boy that she thought was her son, who she's been visiting in the hospital, didn't make it. And she's just clearly devastated by that and everything that she's just learned. And it's like, oh, Sarah, let me just give you a hug, honey.
You're exactly right. And I think we kind of covered everything.
I think so too.
So, so we're going to take off. We're going to kind of let you guys get out there and enjoy this summer heat that we're having here. But no, I'm happy for everybody that's tuned in and watched, and we'll have this up on the podcast feed as well a little later. But overall, I like where the Bay is going, and we saw the teaser trailer for the upcut for the rest of season 6, and it looks great. If
that doesn't hook you, honestly, if you sit and watch that and you have no interest in watching the show, well, I give you some credit, because honestly, it's like, come on, how can you not get at least a little bit sucked in?
No, you're exactly right. And remember, the Bay the Beginning can be found on Amazon Prime, or Prime Video, I should say. And check that out. That's the actual, I don't want to say prequel, but it's the first season of the Bay. Then the Bay season 1 actually starts after Bay the Beginning. And then you can find the Bay on Peacock up until season 6. You can find it on Amazon Prime up until season 7. Tubi up until season 7. And then on Popstar, it's up until season 8 on demand, and then also season 9 is currently playing daily. I want to say 4 p.m. Eastern time. They're running through season 9 daily at this point. So there's a multitude of places to watch the Bay. So if you're missing it, you're not looking hard enough.
Very true.
So, Kim, where can everybody find you?
So I am Misfit8690 on Twitter, as well as on Instagram, and a Little Misfit 52 on YouTube. So feel free to hit me up there to chat about soaps or anything else that's striking your fancy.
All right. And as always, you can find me on Twitter and Facebook at Vinny Suds. On Twitter is at Suds Media, which is our network page, which I usually use that more than anything else, because sometimes it's just hard going back and forth between the two different accounts. Suds and Squared Circle Media is on Facebook. Go ahead and like that as well. If you're watching this again, you could go ahead and hit that like button, turn on the subscriptions and the notification bell on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/@suds-media. Instagram is Suds and Squared Circle. TikTok is Suds_squared_circle. And we are putting a lot more reels and posts and TikToks up regarding our episodes. So check those out as well. You can find me on this network a lot of times throughout the week. Wednesday nights, I am on the Dynamite Deep Dive with John Anthony from Chairshot Sports, and that goes all over AEW Dynamite. I do fill in on the Raw Rundown as well as the SmackDown Shakedown when I can. and the PLE post shows when I'm able to. So keep that in mind. All wrestling and soap opera categories or soap opera content come up on this YouTube channel and this X account, so check them out. Remember my interview with Guy Evans, the author of Beyond Nitro, The Untold Stories from WCW Era. That will be up relatively shortly, within the next day or two. So check that out as well. That was a bonus episode of Squared Circle News as we talk all about Beyond Nitro and get into, the death of Hulk Hogan and other stuff that he's going to possibly be working on, including maybe another entry into the Nitro trilogy or the Nitro series. So either way, go check all that out. In the meantime, you can definitely keep watching the Bay wherever you find it, and we'll catch you next week as we go Dockside at the Bay. Have a great night, everybody.
Take care, everybody.